In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how you can tell where to place the first digit of a quotient without dividing. And that is also the essential question, which is how can you tell where to place the first digit of a quotient without dividing? Now, it is important that as we go through this video that you have your Go Math book out, you have your pencil, and also your math journal. So let's turn to page 61 in your Go Math book, and let's unlock this problem. Now, it says Tanya has 4 purple daisies, and all she counts 128 petals on her flowers. If each flower has the same number of petals, how many petals are on one flower? Now, in order to solve this problem, we want to take a look at a couple things. Okay, now on page 61, I know it says underline the sentence that tells you what you were trying to find. It's always important to underline that sentence. Try to figure out what you're trying to find before you do anything else. Okay, so we can see that we are trying to find if each flower has the same number of petals, how many petals are on one flower. So that's what we're trying to find, and I want you to underline that in your book as well. Also, we want to take a look at circle the numbers you will need to use. So together, let's circle 8 and 128 are the numbers we're going to use. Okay. Now, finally, how we use these numbers to solve the problem. Okay, our answer for that, and I want you to write this down, I will divide 128 by 8. Okay, why do we know that's what we need to do? Okay, we know that there's 128 total, and there's also 8 purple daisies. So taking 128 and dividing that by 8 will show us how many petals are on one flower. Okay, so we take that. Now, we take all that information and we're going to start dividing. I know on page on page 61 has 128 divided by 8. Okay? That's our problem. So we want to use an estimate to place the first digit in the quotient. Okay, now what we want to think about is we have 128 divided by 8. Now, with estimating whenever we divide, we cannot necessarily round, because if we were to round that 130 divided by 8, that's not going to give us an even number. So we want to find the closest number to 12 that is compatible to 8. Okay, could go either lower or higher. Now we're going to change that 12 to actually 16, making that number 160. Okay, so we have the estimate of 160. We're going to keep that 8 the same. 160 divided by 8. Now, when you work this problem out, you can take 16 divided by 8. We know that's going to give us 2, and then we can tack on the 0 at the end for 20. So 160 divided by 8 equals 20. So we know based upon that answer that we know the first digit of the quotient will be in the tens place. Okay, now if the answer were, for example, 2, okay, we know the first digit of the quotient will be in the ones place. If it were, 122, first digit in the quotient would be in the hundreds place. So you can see how that helps us out. Now, let's take a look at step 2. After we know that, we can start dividing. Now, it's important to write down these steps here. Okay, we're going to write down this little saying, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? Which actually stands for and helps us remember the steps to a division problem. Divide, multiply, subtract, check, bring down. DMSCB, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers, will help us find the answer or remember the steps of a division problem. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is take that 8 and we divide it into the 12. Divide it into the 12 tens. Okay, we know 8 goes into 12 one time. Okay, so we divide it. Now it's time to multiply. We multiply the number in the tens place in our quotient by the divisor. Multiply 8 times 10. So we multiply that. I want you to write down that's going to give you 8. Okay, now from here we subtract. So we take 12 minus 8. That's going to give us 4. So the 12 minus the 8 tens That's going to give us 4. 4 tens cannot be shared among 8 groups without regrouping. Okay, so 12 minus 8 gives us 4. And then the next step you want to bring down. You want to bring down that 8, giving you 48. Okay, so you can see we have the 48 now. Okay, so now that we've brought it down, or we checked that 4 that was less than 8, we brought down that 8. Now from here we're going to start dividing again. Okay, 8 and the 48, we can see it goes in 6 times, so that's dividing. Then we multiply 6 times the 8, that gives us 48. Then we subtract, that gives us 0. We check to make sure that 0 was less than 8. Okay, so 48 minus 48 gave us 0. Okay, and 0 ones cannot be shared among 8 groups, so it's less than 8. So having 16 close to that estimate of 20 there, the answer is reasonable. Okay, so there are a total of 16 petals on one flower. So it's really important to write this down in your notes. Divide, multiply, subtract, check, bring down. Then keep repeating that process until you run out of numbers within your dividend. Okay, and an easy way to remember that, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? So write that down in your notes and then we'll continue. Okay, now let's take a look at the problem on page 62. Okay, it says divide, use place value to place the first digit, 4,236 divided by 5. Okay, so it says use place value to place the first digit. Okay, now it is important to remember to estimate the quotient first. Okay, so what we can do, we can take the closest compatible number. So we have 42 divided by 5. Think about the closest compatible number to 42 that goes into 5, and that's 40. Okay. All right, now we can just take that 3 and 6, turn those into zeros. Now if we estimate 40 divided by 5, I'm sorry, 4,000 divided by 5, 40 divided by 5 equals 8. And then if I tack on my 2 zeros at the end, that gives me 800. Okay, now what this estimate will do, that will help me make sure my answer is reasonable. It will also help me understand where I put my first digit within my quotient. You can see this is 800. So my first digit is going to go right in the hundreds place, right above that 2. Okay, makes it pretty simple. All right, now, so knowing that, it says use place value to place the first digit. Okay, so it says look at the thousands. We know 4 thousands cannot be shared among 5 groups. In other words, 4 is less than 5. It does not. It cannot be shared among 5 groups. Then we need to look at the hundreds. Okay, so we know that. So we do know that 42 hundreds can be shared among 5 groups. Okay, so knowing that, we know the first digit is in the hundreds place. And let's write that in your book. Okay, and then after that, we're going to take a look at our steps. First of all, step 2, divide the hundreds. Okay, so we divide 42 hundreds by 5. Okay, so 42 divided by 5 is going to give us 8. Okay, and then from there we take that 8, we multiply our divisor by the number we just placed in the quotient, 5 by 8 hundredths. Okay, and we can see that that is going to give us, so 5 times 8 is going to give us 40. Let's write that right in there. Okay, now we're going to subtract 42 minus 40. So 42 hundreds minus 40 hundredths. And that's going to give us 2 hundredths. Now we want to check it. Okay, so we've divided, we've multiplied, we've subtracted. You can see now it's time to check. My 2 is less than 5, or think about 200s cannot be shared among 5 groups without regrouping. Okay, so we have that. Now the 3 has been brought down, so now we have 5 going into 23. Okay, so we'll write 23 tens divided by 5. Okay, and we know that 23 divided by 5, the 5 can go in the 23, 4 without going over. Okay, so 4, multiply that 4 by 5 tens. 4 times 5 is going to give us 20. We'll write that in there. It's already written in for us there. Okay, then we subtract the 23 tens minus the 20 tens, and we have 3 tens cannot be shared among 5 groups without regrouping. So you check it. Now it's time to bring down. Okay, so we bring down that 6, you can see, in step 4. All right, now we're going to take 5 into 36. So 36 divided by 5. All right, that's going to give us 7. In other words, 5 can go into 36 7 times without going over. That's the most amount of times without going over. So therefore, we multiply 7 and 5, multiply that number in the quotient by the divisor. Okay, we put that 35 right underneath the 36, as you can see. So we have 36 ones minus 35 ones. And then we can see the answer is 1. So 1 cannot be shared among 5 groups. All right, so we check it. That works out for us. That 1 here is obviously less than 5. So we have a total of 847 with a remainder of 1. So it's important, as you can see within your book, that you divide, multiply, subtract, check, bring down. An easy way to remember this: does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? Now what I want you to do is work through this problem all by yourself. When you're finished with it, you can press play and I'll have the answer for you. You may need to rewind the video, and if you don't quite understand all the different problem or all the different steps within a division problem, so pause the video now. So you can see the answer 103. Make sure you look at my steps and they match yours. If you have the correct answer, it should. If it doesn't, check my steps and see where yours differed from mine. Okay, here's another problem that I want you to work out all by yourself. When you're finished, you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, here's the answer for the problem. Make sure you double check your work and make sure it looks just like mine, and then we can move on to the next problem. Okay, so let's take a look at the test prep problem on page 64, and I want you to work through this problem all by yourself. When you're finished, you can press play and I'll have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, the answer to this problem is letter B, so double check and make sure that's what you have. Now to conclude the video, how can you tell where to place the first digit of a quotient without dividing? Possible answer: by using basic facts and compatible numbers, you can estimate the value of the quotient, which should allow you to place the first digit of a quotient. So this concludes the video on place the first digit lesson. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.